You might be surprised to learn that the plot of 2001's Jeepers Creepers was inspired by true events. Victor Salva, the writer and director, did not attempt to highlight this fact. The plot revolves around a winged monster who feeds on humans to regenerate. Though it may appear that it had no basis in reality, it most emphatically did. Ray and Marie Thornton were driving down Snow Prairie Road in Coldwater, Michigan on April the 15th, 1990, on Easter Sunday. They played a game while traveling, trying to make words and phrases out of the license plates that passed them. Marie won that round of the game as a cream and burgundy 1984 Chevrolet van passed them at high speed. "Geez, he must be in a hurry," she exclaimed as she noticed the GZ on the plate. The couple continued their stroll, and it was not long before they came across an old schoolhouse and saw a man attempting to dispose of a blood-splattered white sheet. Marie noticed a vehicle parked between the school and a large tank and recognized it as the Chevrolet that had passed them earlier. The couple drove on to find a phone, and Marie wrote down what she remembered about the license plate. Their journey was cut short when they noticed a truck approaching quickly behind them. It followed them for a few miles before turning off the road into a lay-by. Ray and Marie needed to see the number plate again to provide more information to the police, so they turned around and returned to the truck. As they passed, a tall man in a white hat stood at the back of the vehicle, doors open, changing the license plates. He had also left the passenger door open, and the interior was visibly stained with blood. Ray and Marie had no idea what the man had done, but they would soon find out, thanks to the news. Dennis Depue, 46, had gone to his ex-wife's house earlier that day to pick up his children. Although joint custody was part of the divorce settlement, Dennis continued to use the guest house as an office, although he no longer lived there. He had also gotten into the house when no one was home, despite his wife Marilynn changing the locks because she was afraid of her ex-husband. The divorce was not unexpected, and Marilynn had told friends that Dennis was a bully. During the negotiations, however, Dennis was forthright and offered Marilynn whatever she desired from the settlement. Nonetheless, their children had picked up on underlying issues. Julie, Jennifer, and Scott didn't want to spend time with their father, so on that April day, the youngest, Julie, refused to get in his car, and the others quickly followed. A tussle broke out between the children and Dennis, and Marilynn joined in. Dennis accused his ex-wife of turning his children against him, so he pushed her down the stairs and began beating her in front of the children. Jennifer dashed to a neighbor's house to summon assistance. When she returned, Dennis informed her that he was transporting Marilynn to the hospital. Marilynn was never seen alive again, and they never arrived at any of the nearby emergency rooms. Dennis was disposing of the sheet he had used to transport Marilynn's dead body when the Thorntons saw him by the school. When Ray and Marie returned to see what Dennis had been up to, they discovered it sticking out of the ground from the animal hole he had tried to push the sheet down into. When police and forensics arrived, the Michigan State Police and the Sheriff's Office had already begun their hunt for Dennis in response to Jennifer's call. The area was taped off, and forensics discovered tire tracks and a pool of blood nearby. The treads were later linked to Dennis's truck, and Marilynn's blood was identified. Marilyn's body was discovered the next day in the brush next to a quiet road halfway between her house and the schoolhouse. Her husband had shot her in the back of the head. Dennis went on the run after his wife was murdered and wrote several letters to family and friends. He sent out 17 letters, each with a different postmark from various East Coast states. They were filled with long rants in which he attempted to justify killing Marilynn. Dennis sent another letter 3 months after Marilynn was murdered. This time it was 14 pages long. It included Bible verses and more ramblings from the fugitive. Dennis Depue's murder episode aired on Unsolved Mysteries in March of 1991, nearly a year after the murder. Mary arrived at her home in Dallas, Texas, the night that episode aired, surprised to see her boyfriend's car in the driveway. When she opened the front door, she was met by Hank, who informed her that he needed to drive home because his mother was very ill. While he packed his belongings, he asked Mary to make him some sandwiches for the road. In reality, Hank was trying to keep her busy so she would not sit down to watch TV and see his face on the screen. Hank hugged his girlfriend as he packed his 1984 Chevrolet van. Mary never saw the man again, but she would soon discover who he really was. Mary's friend called the hotline and identified her friend's boyfriend as Dennis Depue. She gave the operator his license plate number and where they thought he was going, and Dennis was located 4 hours later. The van was discovered by Louisiana State Troopers. They attempted to stop the vehicle, but instead went on a 15-mile high-speed chase. If they could not stop Dennis, Warren County Sheriff Paul Barrett told his team to shoot out the truck's tires, which they did, hitting both back wheels. Dennis managed to drive for a half a mile on the rims before the van gave up and stopped. He fired 3 shots at officers, 2 through the windshield and 1 through an open window. He then reversed the gun and shot himself. Dennis was buried at Eagle Cemetery in LaGrange County, Indiana, a long distance from his wife's final resting place in Oakland County, Michigan. Dennis Depue's actions were depicted in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries and were the inspiration for the beginning of 2001's Jeepers Creepers.